Are you training for the next big race and unsure what to do with your nutrition? Well, take advantage of Precision Fuel and Hydration's free online planner. It'll help you figure out exactly how much carbs, sodium, and fluid you need to smash your goals. I swear by their 90-gram resealable gel on all my long runs and recently used it at the Ballarat Marathon. Click the link in the show notes, use the planner, and get 15% off your first order with the code INSIDERUN15. Support the Inside Running podcast and boost your performance. Now let's dive into this week's episode.
Child, that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
Welcome to episode 358 of the Inside Running podcast. This week we'll be covering the Paralympics, Zurich Diamond League, Burnley Half, Bridge to Brisbane, as well as a course record at the Fifth Avenue Mile in New York. But before we do that, welcome back to Moose, who has just returned from his European junket. How are you, mate?
I'm tired, jet lagged, overwhelmed with work.
Grumpy as well, I hear.
We're grumpier than normal. So,
good trip?
A long fucking way over there, Zurich.
So we're recording at 7:00 Monday night. What time did you get home?
I probably got home about 2 a.m. So we got off the plane, 13-hour flight after Dubai, then 7-hour flight before that, and the baggage carousel was broken. So we stood around in the baggage area for hour and a half maybe. Before that came out. So, and then I had the 90-minute drive after midnight down to home. 9 a.m. meeting this morning.
Good trip though, Moose?
Yeah, it was good. I've never seen Zurich before. Pretty cool city. So it was really warm. The weather was hot. Like Chris would probably talk about the weather in Europe, but it was really warm. First day we got there, slugging our luggage across the city, walking to the hotel, and it was 33 degrees or something, and the humidity is so high, 90% humidity each day. It was pretty warm, but it did drop off. The temperature dropped a little bit. We went to St. Moritz for a day, and that was cooler there up in the mountains. That was probably the perfect temperature.
Oh, it's good to have you back, and looking forward to hearing about your trip. And our other co-host this week, he's fresh off a 69-minute half, and since last appearing on the main show, has rewritten his lifetime bests over 800, 1500, 3K and 5K. Welcome back to the show, Christian from Norway.
Thanks, Bradley, and thanks for having me. Moose said earlier this year that we took all the low-hanging fruits. So all these PBs, they were probably the easy ones. So this fall is for the harder PBs.
Yeah, but look, compared to where you were at the start of the year, so I guess our non-Patreons probably haven't heard from you for a while, but you were pretty much questioning whether you were going to continue with the sport. You weren't running very well. But the last, 3-4 months, things have turned around. So do you want to kick off with just maybe a bit of an update on what's changed since you last appeared on the show?
Yeah, I had this Valencia Marathon last December. It was an honest shit show, but ran to the finish line. I think 2:37 or something, was questioning myself and what I'm doing in this game for the last 20K or something. And then I restarted, went for Barcelona half in February, ran 71 something, felt a little bit better, but still far away from where I had been before, and also felt a little bit like this running was not giving me the same that it have have been doing the last 5-6 years. So around March, April, I went for some traveling with Sondre. I was in Boston with him when he ran the marathon, but I was just there as a friend and also helping out. And then one day I just had enough. So I put out on internet that, just give me a coach. I mean, I asked some of you guys as well. And then I had some discussion with Jordan Donnelly, the guy that have been on the show sometimes working for On. And then he just one day said, mate, just let me help you out. You are lost in your own head and you cannot find the way back on your own. And then I'm just, okay, let's go. So I started with Jordan in the middle of the May. And then he said, let's try to go for a track season first and try to do some completely other stuff in training that you haven't done before. So I've pretty much done what he have told me and tried to run faster for 3K, 5K, and some 1500 meters. And to break 4 minutes in the 1500 meter was actually a little bit better than I was dreaming about in the beginning.
Mm. And have you enjoyed the change of training? Like obviously less kilometers than what you were doing?
Yeah, I would say so. Have been different kind of sessions, different kind of way of putting this together. And of course, Jordan also believed that I have probably run too much and have been like not fresh enough for big workouts and probably also for track races. So this summer have learned me a lot. I have way more respect about specific training towards the one distance now than I had earlier. And I would also say that even for us non-elite people, sometimes it can be really funny also to challenge yourself at lower distances and doing stuff that you haven't done before. So I'm a little bit surprised that my body was able to handle this I will not say harder training, but shorter training, a lot of fast running, a lot of spikes, a lot of just all in all different middle distance training. But looking back to the last 15, 16 weeks with Jordan, the motivation is back to the old, sky high. I really want to try to run 2:19, and also I was a little bit surprised that I was able to turn around, go back to run 3:59 for a 1500 meter when you are 37 years old. I mean, it just shows that if you can handle the training, the age is not a problem.
Mm. And Moose, you've been impressed with the big fella's turnaround the last few months?
It's been good to watch. And good to see him listen to someone. There's no doubt, like, he was messing himself up. He was talking all sorts of nonsense. Every time he would get on that monthly show, there'd be some different philosophy or plan or end game for him. Talking about it. I couldn't believe he would still show up and run with how much he clearly hated it at the time and how much it was depressing him. And I would have been depressed too. The man runs 200K a week and was getting slower. Like that's a sad thing to have to do that, not go anywhere. It's like treading water. So I've actually been very impressed. You've run under 4 minutes, under 15, under 9, did all the good things. Surely there's more PBs in store, sub 2:20. I actually think you might beat Brady's PB, Chris O.
I think after Chicago, that PB will be a little bit better than at the moment. But I think it's possible to run 2:19. But of course, I still need to have 12 good weeks towards Valencia, and I need probably to become a little bit better. But at the moment, at least I am better than I have been for many, many years.
I think what the last few months has shown, Christian, is like the value in a coach sometimes. Like, yes, it's important, like the stuff that they're prescribing you, but when you're coaching yourself, you were obviously like second guessing yourself all the time. And so even if potentially you were doing the right stuff, because you were questioning it, it probably wasn't working. Whereas if you have faith in your coach, then that sort of takes a fair bit of the pressure off. And if you believe in it, then the results will come.
Yeah, no, it's also something in the back of your head when you are always try to plan for yourself. It was more of a relief than I thought to just do what's on the paper. I mean, in the beginning, you need to talk with yourself. If you start with someone, you need to trust him, and you need to, or trust her, and then you need to do what you are given. And of course, it's a teamwork. So you give feedback after sessions. You try to find the right balance. But all in all, to not be in charge of your own training, for me at this stage in life, have been really, really good. Just do what's on the paper. Don't think about why. Don't try to run faster or slower. You do what's on the paper. And that have been a big, big relief.
And so give the listeners a bit of a insight into that track period. So was it like 2 sessions a week? How long was your long run? And what was sort of your general weekly mileage during that sort of track season?
Let's see, we started around middle of May. So I ran 31:43 for a 10K, and I ran 70:04 for a half, 70:05 for a half. So that was the shape leading into this. The first thing Jordan did was to give me 2 weeks with really low mileage. First week, 100 kilometers. The second week, 110 kilometers, because I was coming from, like Julian said, 160, 170 Ks for 10, 15 weeks in a row. And then he changed up a lot of stuff. He gave me things first of all, he took down the intensity a lot in all this long training. When I have done, let's say, 2K or 3K repeats, have usually been around 325 to 320. I've been a little bit chasing the times all the time. The first thing Jordan did was to turn everything to 335 to 330. And the second thing he did was just to give way lower volume in each session. I have been used to having between 40 to 50 minutes of intensity. So 12 to 15K of work in a session. Jordan gave me a lot of way, the mileage was more like 5, 6, 7Ks. And he also gave me a little bit of shorter stuff, like hill sprints, like 15 seconds, a lot of 200 meters, around 32 to 31, not sprinting, but trying to run faster, relaxed. And then he also said that the best training for you in the beginning here is to be out on the track and try to race. So I had like 4 or 5 1500 meters this summer. I had 2 3000 and 1 800, and the last race was 1 5K. But all in all, the mileage have been let's see here. We have 12 weeks, 122K was the average for this 12 weeks with track season.
Yeah.
And long run, nothing longer than 90 minutes, and have not been many of them. And all long runs have been slow pace. So let's say 4:30 or around that.
So Chriso, you deal a lot with athletes that get coached by the high volume session people like Renato Canova. Have you talked to him about this training you're doing?
I said, to be honest, I talk quite often with Renato, and sometimes we have him on the podcast show ourselves. So even though he's getting 80 years this December, this year, the brain is still working. So I sent him what I did during the summer, and what Renato said is like, it's fun to see that people even in your age is able to go back to train like 15, 16, 7-year-old people should do. Try to be a little bit fresher on the session, try to run relaxed but fast. And also, Renato, even though what we are hearing from here is a lot of marathon training for top people like Emil Keires and Sondre Moen and those guys, Renato have also been a track coach for 1500 meter guys, like these Kenyan people like Femoy that got second now in the Olympic game for 5K. So what we are hearing a lot from Renato is marathon training for top people. Sometimes I think that if you are a 225 runner, you cannot train like a 205 guy, even though you can take out a little bit of the sense and a little bit about this, some specific stuff. I think all in all, some people, we need to just step back and train at the level we are at the moment. So yeah, Renato said it was good, and he also thinks that a lot of people need to have change. You remember that the top marathon people in the world probably run 2 marathons a year, but they have been in this track game maybe 10 years leading into this marathon career. Is another thing that you just go out on the roads and you start to run on the roads immediately. So probably I needed this, and probably I should have done this 10 years ago, but it's easy to sit here today and tell me that I should have done this in 2013. The honest truth is that I don't have this knowledge. What Jordan have given me, I would never have given to myself.
I like that you've stripped it back so much to the point that, because a lot of the time people go, oh, I'll try and improve my speed, but they don't want to let go of your weekly mileage. So the fact that you strip back, well, one, the mileage allowed you to then do the speed work, but then you look at on the weekend, you ran 69 minutes for the half, which half is obviously very aerobic, and you're running faster now over the half than what you were running when you were running like a lot more kilometers. So you're obviously more efficient now.
Yeah, and I also think sometimes that people are too used to be tired all the time. So it's almost a little bit like you don't know how it feels to be fresh because you are tired all the time. So the only way to feel freshness is to go really, really back. And that was Jordan's point in the beginning when he gave me pretty much 2 weeks here with 7 hours of training. It was not because he thought that less training gives you better results. It was a little bit like a big setback for me, just to try to make me becoming fresher and seem like, okay, this can be a way of feeling better for workouts and feeling like you probably haven't done for some years. Because of course, you need sometimes in the marathon training, you just need to stick your head to the plan and work hard. But I have been also the guy that have been overtrained a lot of the time. So even on the start line, you feel good, but you are not fresh enough.
Yeah, so good point.
After all the speed work, like, do you get sorer because you're running faster?
Now, if I have to say one thing that I have been impressed with, so that is that my body have been able to do this stuff. Because in the beginning, I asked Jordan some questions. You think about this risk. We are going probably 5 to 10 Ks a week on the track with spikes. We have long recovery. We're doing, I will not say sprinting, but we are doing a lot of completely different stimuli. But all in all, I have been all fine, but I have been in the gym 2 times a week for almost 1 year now as well. So I have just tried really my best to stay healthy.
Hey, Chris, I'm interested to hear about your half marathon, and then obviously have questions regarding between now and Valencia. But do you want to just take us through your last week in the lead up to the half, and then we can ask you some more questions after that?
Yeah, I came from a Saturday long run and a Sunday with 5 times 10 minutes. So Saturday and Sunday last week was 30K and then 31K. So came out and started this week with some mileage in my legs. But Monday was...
Sorry, repeat that. You did a long run and then the next day did 5 by 10 minutes?
Yeah, and that have also been a change. Jordan have given me a lot of sessions the day after the long run, but the long runs here have not been crazy. They have been 20, almost like a little bit of the midweek long run for you guys. Have been 90 to 100 minutes. So I had that Saturday, and then I had 5 times 10 minutes on some dirt road with 3 minutes recovery. So all in all, that is 62 minutes of running without stopping. I had that on the Sunday. So this week Monday was 40 minutes plus gym in the morning. I have tried to mix up this, and I want to ask you, Julian, when you were, I will not say at your very best, but when things were flying and you were up in Ballarat, did you feel that doing gym the Monday after the long run Sunday was the best option, or was it because that was the only way you could make this time stick together?
Yeah, it was just convenient for me because Monday was a day off, so didn't have to go to work, had 2 short runs, had more time, so I went to the gym from convenience, but I was always pretty sore from the Sunday. I don't
If you were a pro athlete, would you have done the gym the same day as the long run?
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah.
Or the workout. I would have done it probably the afternoon of. I don't think I could have done it immediately after, but I would have probably done it the afternoon.
Yeah, like a long run Sunday morning, and then maybe like 20 minutes plus gym on Sunday afternoon.
Yes, yeah. And gym, I never focused on that too much. I would only be in there for 45 minutes once a week. That's not very often. I did go to twice a week at one point, but even then I felt like I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, I have tried to mix up a little bit, but it's like you are saying, if I do it immediately after the workout or after the long run, I think that is too demanding, but probably could have done it afternoon. But I have chosen to do this Monday, so the day after. So 40 minutes, 456 plus gym, and then 35 minutes in the afternoon, so 15K that day. Tuesday, 40 minutes in the morning, I was on the treadmill, so the weather had been really up and down. So I ran a little bit faster, and this was the first time that Jordan was really angry at me. I ran 4:15 to 4 minute pace on the treadmill this morning, and I had a session in the afternoon, and he said, "Stop this fucking gray zone running. I will be really mad at you." He wanted that to be like really easy. So that was one of the first that Jordan gone mad the last 14 weeks. So I guess hopefully I will not get too many of those in the future. And in the afternoon, he also gave me a mixed session. I have never done stuff like this. He gave me 4 times 200 meter first, around 31, and then 6.4 kilometer tempo. That is 4 miles. And since he's from UK, some of this is miles. And then 8 times 400 to finish it off. So for 200 meters in the beginning after warm-up, of course, that feels easy. But going into this tempo in the middle after running really fast for 200 meters, I was running 3:25 here on the track. Let's call that marathon pace at the moment. That felt really, really cruisy, especially the first 4K. And then finishing off with 8 times 400 meter around 3K pace, around 68. I was breathing quite hard towards the end of these 400 meters. But just combination of workouts like this, I have never done before.
Why are you doing the 200s first? And why are you doing 200s? Now have you moved to the marathon stuff now?
Yeah, Jordan wants to don't lose what you have. So a little bit of faster running in between. And sometimes he just wants to mix up things during the session for having people to get the feeling I had to in this tempo. Like you coming from, let's say 32 seconds, that's 64, so 240, that is 1500 meter pace for me. So coming from 1500 meter pace to marathon pace in the beginning is a really good feeling. So probably physically, I don't know the answer, but mentally that felt really good.
What sort of recoveries were you having between reps and sets?
200 meter jogs between these 200 meters. So let's around 60 seconds jog. And then 4 minutes after the last 200 before the tempo. And then 4 minutes after the tempo. And then 60 seconds between the 400 meters. But 400 meters at 3K pace with 60 seconds recovery. In the beginning feels fine, but towards the end I was breathing. Yeah. And then Wednesday, 45 minutes in the morning, 5:04, really easy. And then 35 minutes in the afternoon, 7K, so 16 that day. Tuesday, 30 minutes plus gym in the morning. And then in the afternoon, did some diagonals on the football field. So he wanted one way, 40, 40, 40 meter. That's 40 meter of acceleration, 40 meter float, and 40 meter acceleration. And then going back is 120 meter, just steady running. This I have never done before, stuff like this either. So this is probably just a way of having strides or sprints, just different on a football field. It was no pace description here. It was just run on feeling. And Friday, 60 plus 30. Saturday, the day before the race, I had 15 minutes plus 2 times 2 minutes on feeling, and then 5 minutes in the morning. And then I had a rest in the afternoon, but since we are the organizer of the race, we had a big shakeout run in Drammen. So afternoon was 5 kilometers at 5:09 with a lot of people. And then Sunday was the race, start at 11, so went out for 15 minutes in the morning, and then was the race start at 11, so ran 69:21.
Was this an all-out race for you? Like, what were the coach's instructions for this?
The coach's instruction was don't run faster than 33:20 the first 10K. So I ran 27 seconds too fast. But Jordan was not completely mad at me, but I don't think he was really, probably a little been in the middle. He wanted me to have like 3:20 for the first 10K, and then was able to run a little bit faster the last 5K. I was running faster the last K, and the last 3K I was running all out against good friends. But Jordan probably hoped that I could finish a little bit stronger, and then I ran a little bit slower in the beginning. But the first 5 was pretty much spot on. The problem was from kilometer 5 to 10. It's a little bit downhill. We ran I was just in the middle of a 40 people pack. So I was just, I just ran with the people. But Jordan wanted me to run a little bit slower the first time.
And were you happy with that result? Like, coming off the track season, not having done a lot of volume, like, did you feel like you're lacking a bit of strength, or you felt pretty strong towards the end?
I felt that is a fine line between what you are feeling during a half marathon that feels like controlled pace, that suddenly is not that controlled anymore. In a marathon, I think I have more experience with what is managed, what you are managed to run the first half, a little bit of the marathon feeling. But the half marathon feeling is a small fine line between what is steady pace and what is hurting pace.
Mm. Yeah. Brady thought you were running this at marathon effort, given your heart rate was like 159 average.
This was not a half marathon effort. Probably the first 5K was a marathon effort, but that is probably the feeling you should have in a half marathon anyway. So Jordan was talking a little bit before the race that the last thing he wanted was me attacking my PB from the gun and really hitting the wall around 16K and really dying towards the end of the race, so that we need to have many days of recovery, and also that I was like redlining for 1 hour. So he wanted a little bit more progressive, but at the same time, my fastest case was the last K. But the last kilometers, I was also sprinting all out against good people. So I run as fast as I can the last 3, 4, 5 kilometers. If I could have gone 20, 30 seconds faster, if I went all out from the gun, I don't know, to be honest. And since I am owning this race and we have a lot of work of the days leading in, probably I could be a little bit fresher. But I don't think I can run, maybe I can run 68:40, but I think that is maximum at the moment.
Yeah. What shoes do you wear?
I wear the Adidas Evo Pro 1 first time, and I would have to say that people like me, I don't think I am good enough to run. Half marathon was probably couldn't have been many kilometers more, because that shoe is made for top people with high cadence, with a really not midfoot or heel striker, but you need to be a forefoot runner, and it's almost like it's made for better runners than me. But for a 10K, I think it's the best shoe. But looking back, maybe still Alpha One or maybe this new Chinese shoe, this X-Step shoe. Maybe those two is still the best. And for a marathon, I know for sure I cannot run in this Evo 1, not at the moment.
Yeah, I put it on this week as well. I found a pair that was around my size, and it doesn't feel like it has enough under my foot for the longer periods.
And that's why I'm saying, if I was hurting from, sometimes when you try to redline, you try to run even split, so you go hard out in a half, and you're really hanging on for the last 20 minutes. You're losing your rhythm, you're losing your frequency. I think this shoe will hurt me even more if I was slowing down towards the end.
Yeah, you need that bigger platform.
Yeah. So all in all, 142 Ks this week. I felt okay this morning waking up, and 12 weeks to Valencia Marathon. We have a good job to do here, but this is probably the time where I have been less. I was not very prepared to run a half marathon. Not many sessions that have been really long. A long time ago, since I was running a road race. Running on the tracks now, these days, with pacemaker, with pacing lights, it's just a different game to be out on the roads again. It's almost like you are running blind.
Yeah, we don't get that here, mate.
No, we get a windy track and no one turning up.
Yeah.
Track races.
Yes.
So, Chriso, where to from here? Where do you think your mileage will top out at?
Earlier when I was coaching myself, it was a little bit what you see with Brady. All cylinders are sky high. It's never any up and down in the modulation. With Jordan now, I have way more modulation than ever before. So I see some weeks where we are probably hitting around 170, but also I see weeks here, like 1 week with completely recovery week. So 110K with a lot of jogging. So I can see that Jordan is doing a lot of stuff that I have thought about, but I have never been brave enough to do it.
Yeah, no, I did a bit of that stuff back in 2018. My coach at the time wasn't big on those massive big blocks for 10 weeks straight. It was sort of fluctuate the length of long runs, fluctuate the length of midweek long runs, have a down week once a month. So any more questions, Moose, before we move on to your week?
Questions. You'd thrown away the lactate analyzer? Sold it on Marketplace?
No, I still have it, and sometimes we use it. But Jordan is not giving me training based on millimole. He gives me training based on pace, and then I just take the millimole just for checking. A little bit of control checking, and a little bit of just to be curious to see, okay, what kind of intensity is this? But all in all, the intensity spectrum now is way more up and down than it was earlier.
Yeah.
All right, Moose, tell us about your week. I'm looking forward to this.
My week. I left on Saturday evening. I did a big long run on Saturday, actually. So I got that in before I travelled. I did 15K steady pace. Then I did 6 sets of 6 minutes on with a 4-minute float. Now, you want to talk about wind. This was insane wind. But that's all. That's enough. It was just very windy. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I think we spoke last week. We basically had a week of really strong winds here, the south part of Australia last week.
Yeah, it's still pretty windy out there today.
Yeah.
What were we? Yeah, so we got in on Sunday. Actually, I think it counted for Sunday, my run. Yeah, so got in the afternoon, went out for a jog. Zurich was really warm. It's about 30 degrees or so. We ran down to the river, and this place was pumping with people laying out on the side of the river, sunbaking, swimming. They're all drinking beers, smoking all sorts of stuff, laying on the grass next to it. We were just running through basically like a beach of sorts. I guess it's what inland people do instead of beaches, is they go to their rivers. So that was pretty cool. It was a very busy section of the trail. I was there. So who I was there with? I was there with Sam and Chris from On. They're both runners. And then Pat and Emma from Up There Athletics. They're both runners. Nathan from Run DNA, used to be called a few different names over there in Adelaide, but he's a runner. Ollie, who's a long jumper, he was from there too. He was the videographer for those guys. And 2 New Zealanders who didn't run. Oh, and Renee from Yarraville. So they're the people that were there with. So nearly everyone was a runner. So it was good. Everyone got out every day.
So what was the purpose of the trip, Moose? So give us a bit of an idea of what was the purpose of it?
Well, they called it the On Pacer Summit, and they pretty much took retailers over just to get a bit of an acquaintance with On, a little bit of a closer kind of relationship, learn a little bit about the brand. We see their headquarters. We got a tour there. What else did we do? We listened to a sort of chat with an athlete, Courtney Wayment. She's a steeplechaser, and another one, Valentina. She's an 800-meter runner from Switzerland. It wasn't super productive in terms of the content. We did see some product for the future, but it wasn't a deep dive or anything like that. And we went to the Diamond League. It was a bit of it wasn't as technical as other trips I've been on where we sit down and talk product deeply, but we did see a lot of On, and we saw a lot of the culture there. And I think that was helpful in learning the brand. We saw how they operate, which was helpful as well. I think there were some misses from the trip that sort of could have been, I think the On people that presented to us, they didn't quite want to learn about us and our business very well, which could be helpful considering that we had all of our, they had some great Australian retailers there, and we weren't really ever asked about what we thought of the product or how it works or things that could be improved on, challenges with On, any of that. So it was good. It was good. It was kind of a good running trip. We got to see Zurich. They took us to St. Moritz, which I'll get into. But so on the Sunday we just chilled out. It was day off, basically, free time. So we all went out. We went out for this run. This run, Sam took us past the On headquarters and showed us the stadium, where the athletics would be held. There was a soccer match on at the top. It's actually a really good river to run on once you get past a certain point. It turns to dirt and goes for 20k or plus, just dirt path. Next morning, got up early, went for another jog. This time we went down to the lake, Sam and Pat and I. So we jog around a bit of the lake. The lake's massive. It's 100k around, so you can't just go out for a lap. This goes through Old Town Zurich, so really pretty buildings. Looks really nice. You been here, Chriso, before?
No, I've not been in the Zurich Centrum, only at the airport and only going through it. I've not been in Zurich.
What about you, Crux?
No.
Yeah, it's a really nice place to run through the city. Next that afternoon, well, we had lunchtime runs scheduled on our program, so we got out at 11:30 or something. It was pretty early, and we were doing our doubles really early. So I ran 8K. Courtney Wayman was the guest. She came for a jog, showed us a little bit of the trip. She was in town, obviously, because On is her sponsor. But I think she was running Fifth Avenue Mile. That's what she went home for. So she was good to chat to. 36 minutes. Everyone got up and about for that run. Did a workout the next morning, jogged down to the good part of the trail. It was like a dirt track, pretty much outside On headquarters. Did this with Nathan and Pat. We all did the same workout, 4 by 7 minutes at, well, it was supposed to be threshold, but I got a bit harder than threshold towards the end. And it was probably, the heat really started to hammer me. It's not exactly hot, but 18 degrees at 90% humidity. If you're working a little bit too hard, it cooks you. You can't cool down, and your body just has to work really hard to try to cool yourself when it's that humid. So I went out, the laps ran 3:25, 3:18, 3:21, and 3:20 for the efforts. And that was over threshold effort. I've been doing better workouts back here. I put that down to the heat as to why that session wasn't as good as I thought it could be. The other boys felt hot too. That afternoon or that lunchtime, went out, jogged up the river. There's this really cool thing that's kind of unique about Zurich is that everyone floats the river. So this river goes through the city, and a lot of people will float home. So they'll either run to work with a dry bag, or they'll bike ride to work, catch a tram, or get in somehow into the city, and then they jump in the river, and they basically just float down with a dry sack with their gear in it, and that just takes them all the way to wherever they want to go home. So it's
That's
actually
really cool.
it's really cool. Yeah. I didn't really believe it when I saw it. I just saw all these people just bobbing along in the river, heading downstream.
Cheaper than a bus ticket.
Yeah, I know. It was and it's like, it's kind of healthy because there's no cars. It saves people a trip. There's no anything. Keeps people off the road. And
Bit of Blue Doctor.
Definitely Blue Doctor. Bloody cool, actually, because the river's really clear, and you sort of feels like you're almost snorkeling at points. That's how clear it was. But we just did it for fun. So we jogged up the river 6K or 5K or so, and then floated back towards On headquarters. Did you have a bag to put your stuff in, or like? Yeah, they supplied a dry bag.
Okay.
It's like, and it wasn't dry. I fucked it up when I folded it up, and all water got in. And my phone, this is a shout out to the iPhones, but they were sitting in basically a bag full of water, like fully submerged, and it was totally fine. Like survived, not a problem. So that was pretty good. The iPhone is waterproof. Funnily enough, when we got back from the float, there was Casper, I think it was Casper, the founder of On, or one of the 3 founders of On, was just standing there in his board shorts. He was also out floating just down the river. Like, this bloke's worth 300 million or something. And he's just out there just floating along, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's part of the office culture, I think. They all get out and have a float, even the big dogs. That evening, we took a train down to St. Moritz and went. We didn't run. We got in very late, like 9:30 or something. The next morning, we had one run in St. Moritz, basically, one run to do. And so we made sure that it was a good one. I took the group on a loop, basically just my favorite parts of the trails. we ran from Salarina, where we were staying, back towards St. Moritz Lake, ran around the lake, which is kind of iconic, to the track. Everyone got a couple of photos at the track, and then we headed up behind the village into the hills, ran the hilly trails through there. Back, we started to go up the Val Rosag Glacier Trail, but we were running out of time and kilometres by then, so we turned back and ran on the other side of the creek, river, and then back towards home.
Story time with Moose?
Oh,
a few stories told?
Absolutely. I was in my element there.
Hey boys, back in 2019.
I really like the comment from Ellie here. She was written here on Patrick's page that he tried to kill Sinead and Mai 2 days before a half marathon. So that was back in the Road to New York marathon stuff.
That was that time actually, yeah. And that, like, this is the shame about St. Moritz, is that all the professionals that go there, no one's brave enough to head into the hills and run some trails. Everyone jogs around the lakes, like from St. Moritz up to Silver Plana and Champfort. It's so boring. It's flat. It's nice. It's beautiful trail. Like, the lakes are awesome, but it's dead flat and it's the same out and back every time. And I was battling so hard to get people to come run with me through the hills back then. So everyone was up for it on this trip, and it's beautiful run. Like, it is the best. It's the best place in the world, I think, to run outside Anglesey. But the big difference about St. Moritz and what makes it so good is the quality of the trail underfoot. Like, you're a deep backcountry, and it's like someone's been out there and they've swept the path before you're running on it. And if there's any little holes or tree roots coming through, then they've been shaved down just so that there's no chance of you accidentally tripping. It's lovely running. Underfoot is just perfect dirt. It's just no irregularities in the trail. And it's higher up, and there's, like, we can get to the same place 3 different ways. You can go on a concrete footpath, you can jog a hilly trail to get there, or you can jog a flat trail. And so there's so many options for any type of running you want to do. I think there's some altitude places where it's really difficult to get certain workouts in, just based on the terrain and the bush and the trails, and it just doesn't make it right. And maybe it's too rocky or maybe it's too hilly, but this place has it all. The thing is, it's just so expensive. It's insane how much it costs to survive there. It's just a different level of wealth, or it's just a different cost of living.
So where'd they put you up in St. Moritz?
Mate, we were staying in a really nice hotel. It was down in Salarina, which is just out next town out of St. Moritz. It's actually where the walkers stay when they go there. They go there quite often. I think Jess stayed in Salarina too. I think so. But yeah, it was a really nice hotel, really nice. And that evening we had dinner there, and it's one of the better restaurants getting around. They headed back on the train early that morning, the next morning, 8 a.m. Took about 4 hours to get back. Had a catch up that afternoon with Dathan Ritzenheim, one of the old white sub-13 white men. You know, before it used to happen all the time, there was only a few of them around. There was Craig Mottram, there was Dathan, there was Chris Selinsky back in the day. Who else was there?
Bob Kennedy? Was he sub-13 guy?
I'm not. Was Tegelkamp running sub?
I reckon he was.
And Galen Rupp.
Galen Rupp, yeah. A lot of Americans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not too many from Britain, or no one from there's probably a couple from Europe, but I just can't remember them. But yeah, he was always a favourite of mine to watch. So we had a little meeting with some of the Lightning guys, actually, Jordan's area of work, Chriso. It's funny, I went in there and I asked anyone know Jordan, but no one even knew who he was. I reckon he might talk up his role a little bit.
Yeah, I guess he's a pro coach. Doesn't work for On at all.
Yeah. Or they said that there was some guy called Jordan who used to get him coffees. Maybe that was him.
Or just an OIC hanger-onerer.
Yeah. Oh, there's one.
Oh, I see athlete.
Gives massages to some of the athletes when they want it. But yeah, ran with Ritz. It was cool. Heard a few cool stories about the Olympics back in the day when he used to run against Mottram. Actually, an interesting story he told me. Helen O'Beary only ran for like 5 or 6 weeks before the Olympics. That no one really. I don't think that ever came out, that story, or like that knowledge. Because I asked him, I said, with 3K to go, did you think she would win? And he said, no, I didn't at that point, because I knew that she only had 3 or 4 long runs in her legs, and she'd pretty much been hurt for 12 weeks or so after no running at all after Boston. She had like a bone stress thing.
Hey, Moose, I noticed a cheeky 4:05 kilometre average for this run. Was that you being up and about, or
that
Ritz
was
is
not
still
me?
Super fit.
This bloke hammers his runs. Absolutely I'm running along like, what am I going to do? Tell him to slow down? You don't tell Nathan Ritz and I to slow down. We turned around, went back uphill, and he's dropping a 3:51. And I'm thinking,
my boy, I like that.
Yeah, he is the king of the half step. And yeah,
you can imagine Croker running at 12:56 in old shoes. What Croker would have done on the easy runs would have been 3:30 for everything. Him and Bernard Lager.
Oh, imagine back in the day, they would have just been out and running with Mottram, who was notoriously slow, like very different beasts. Anyway, that night we went to Zurich Diamond League. So he was coaching there. He was obviously coaching Ollie there and Yared, the goose. So that was a big night for him. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Get into that later, but obviously his athlete took the win. We had standing room tickets. So we got off the tram and it absolutely pissed down rain, like torrential, as we walked to the stadium. And we were pretty worried because we didn't really know what standing room looked like in one of these stadiums, but it was actually covered by the roof. And we were at the 1,500 meter start, which was a really good spot. Standing was okay. Legs got a bit tired towards the end of the night, but we were in a pretty epic area there. Cool to watch. What struck me was not so much how fast the front guys are, but how polarizing it is between, like in the men's 3K, between the 7:30 guy and a 7:44 guy, and how the difference in pace, it's crazy how different it looks. The front packs make the 7:44 pack look like us. Like that's what it feels like.
But then you have a 7:44 guy running against 8:10 guys, and the 7:44 guy looks like he's like crazy fast.
Yeah, I know. I think a bloke got dropped, ran 8:03 or something, and it was like, what's this guy bothering for? You should just. It was Woody Kincaid, the guy I was referring to. He looked horrible. Like he ran 7:44, but he does not look healthy. His legs barely come off the ground. But anyway, that was the men's 3. Stewie wasn't in it. He was expected to.
He's a DNS.
Yeah, because Ollie is long jumper, and he's mates with Curtis Marshall, and he was hanging out at the race hotel, and he saw Stewie, and Stewie was in the race hotel. So something obviously happened late in the day, because that morning he was running. So I don't know what happened there. We got out the next morning for 15. We just tried to go through this different area. Went up and found a little garden trail southeast of the city. Arvo jog, had a swim, and then next morning did my long run. Did this with Pat. It was unstructured. Didn't really. I kind of I wanted to do 30K steady, but I also wanted to run with someone. And Pat wasn't going to do that. He's not training for a marathon, and it's probably a little bit outside his reach anyway. So we jogged 2K down to start point, and then I said, okay, well, let's start off by running a section at 3:40, and then I'll run a progressive run. But the first like 3K or something was too quick. I think it was about 3:30 pace. I'll go on my laps, 3:29 pace. I was feeling pretty good, actually. My heart rate was quite low, but we dropped 10 meters. I didn't realize that. And I just thought, oh, geez, I'm on today. Today could be a good one. Then we had a little float, 350 for 3 minutes, and then back to 340s for 4K. 3K, we went to 327s. All of this downhill, mind you. And then 5K took me to my turnaround point, which was kind of where it got a little bit hillier, and it went in the forest area. So I didn't do a hard section until I came out of that, and then I ran 325s or 326s for 3K, and it started to get difficult around this point. It's not big uphill, but 3-4 meters actually does sort of make a difference compared to 3 or 4 meters downhill. The 340s were feeling really good, and this next 3K section, I ran 320s, but I got a really bad stitch, and I couldn't get rid of it. Like it was very sharp. What I found once I finished the run, I did another 2K at 340s float, and then 317 sort of to finish. But then I jogged home. But I threw up at the end of that 317. And I think I might have found my limit with how many carbs I can take on. You know, we have this conversation all the time about how maximizing it. You know, Toby's like all about taking in as much as you can, and you get people been getting into you, Croaks, about it.
Yeah.
Well, I had 2 of those precision 90 grams, and I've pretty much finished them. And I got to what was this sort of time? By the time I probably took 100 grams an hour. So that's what I would have averaged, because I would have had about 170 grams of carbs in an hour 50. So it was pretty full on, and I reckon it did a number on my stomach. I reckon that's why I got that stitch, and I reckon that's why I was throwing up at the end.
So do you reckon people are maybe going too far the other extreme? It's like, you know, it used to be like, don't have a lot, help metabolize fats, and now everyone's trying to get in as much as they can on a long run. Whereas I still think if you're not, I don't know, when you're racing, I think you could probably need a little bit more anyway. But like if you're cruising, you know, like for what I did on the weekend, like cruise for the first hour 45, like I probably don't need to be banging in 90 grams an hour.
Yeah, and
like I know you want to train your stomach, but I still think there's a limit. Like
I think and once you find the limit, that's when you can start working backwards.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where you're just not going to absorb it as well. Especially if you start running harder, like the higher intensity stuff, you just can't get it down. And there is a bit of risk associated with taking too much. And one of the risks is you get stomach distress, which I did.
Yeah, so stuff up your session.
And your race if you do it on the day. Like I'd rather be slightly under fueled off my limit than getting a stitch and being fucked. Especially if all the success we've had in the past has been from under fueled. Like that's what's worked for us previously.
So this big session, like, did that feel like a bit too hard? Like, especially given you had a flight a few hours later.
The session was too hard at the end. That 320. I don't have pace on my watch, so I didn't realize I was going that fast, and I was in this sort of position where I didn't want the workout just to be a full flop, and so I was running at an effort that I thought I could handle, but it was outside my marathon effort, that's for sure. It would have been more like my half marathon effort, and perhaps even towards my 10K effort towards the end of the run. And
were you
His
worried?
heart rate data. Is the heart rate data from the strap?
Yeah, the strap. Yeah. So it gets up pretty quick and it stays around. I mean, it gets up too quick, basically, and then it stays too high. So it's above threshold. It's not bad for me. It's probably not as good for me as what I could have got out of that session. I don't think that it's problematic to run this hard late in a long run. I think there's actually good adaptions you can get from it, but I think that I could have probably maximized the workout by actually staying in a better, more comfortable pace with my heart rate a bit lower. But
were you worried about having that? Because I know back in the day, like chatting to athletes that used to have to travel, it was like you never wanted to do anything too hard, like just before you jump on like a long haul flight.
The flight was at 3:30, and no, the flight was at about 3:30. So I wasn't too worried. I mean, I finished the workout at 9. We chilled out, went shopping. I was more worried about being dehydrated, just because the Emirates is real stingy on the water on their planes. Like they give you these tiny bottles and you don't get a lot extra. And it was only 7 hours to start with, and then we got a break, and then the longer one was later.
Yeah.
I was also fine flying after the big one on Saturday, the week before. I always thought it might help me sleep a bit better too. Yeah. Anyway.
So how many Ks for the week?
It was 122, but I missed a day, and I only ran 8K one other day. So it was actually a fairly condensed week for me. If I had another day, it would have been my biggest week in ages. And I kind of treated it a bit like a training camp too. Like I was ready to go over there. It's difficult though, traveling like in a group with a schedule. You just you can't. I was probably the most selfish of the group in terms of getting in what I wanted to get in.
Yeah.
But that's
body's all right, no niggles.
Body's great. I've come off that flight and that trip feeling really good. Like that knee soreness I had has disappeared. I'm feeling good. My body's feeling good late in the runs. I'm being able to double like without worry. So I think I can maximize this last month before the race.
Very good. And last question on the trip. So from like an influencer point of view, did they wine and dine you, and did you get plenty of kit? Like they go like no expenses spared sort of thing?
No, it wasn't no expenses spared. Like we got looked after for sure. Like all our lunches and dinners and stuff were paid for. Breakfast was included with the hotels. We had our beers paid for, but it wasn't like glitzy glamour type stuff. It was we weren't really there for that. It wasn't that type of trip. Like some trips are like that, full junkets, but this wasn't one of them. This was more a product based stuff. I did get a pair of the Swiss Olympic, like their casual shoes that got given to the like they actually sold it too, but it was the Olympic team. I got a hat, and we got a bunch of stuff before we left that was like running gear, a few tees and a backpack. So it was pretty, I'll be decked out and on for a while.
As you're tuning in, you're probably gearing up for a race, but how dialed in is your race nutrition? Precision Fuel and Hydration has you covered with a free online planner to calculate your carb, sodium and fluid needs for peak performance. Their range of fuel and electrolyte products makes it easy to hit your numbers. I swear by their resealable 90-gram gel on all my long runs and recently used it at the Ballarat Marathon. They also fuel top athletes like 4-time Olympian Lisa Waitman, Hayden Hawkes, and a regular guest on the Inside Running podcast, Izzy Bat Doyle. Visit the link in the show notes to personalise your race strategy. Use code INSIDERUN15 for 15% off your first order and support the show. Patrons, use the special code from the Patreon feed in Patreon-only episodes for a further discount of 20% off. Ready to elevate your performance? Click the link now. And now, let's get back to the show.
Very good. All right, I'll roll through my week. So I came off, I did 40K on the Sunday before this week. So my week kicked off on Monday morning, went to the gym for, about 45 minutes. My sessions have been taking, and I've been getting there once a week at least. Haven't been there twice a week for a while, but I definitely think it's making a difference in terms of just keeping me in one piece and maybe adding a little bit of extra strength at the back end of some runs, which I'll get to a bit later. My run for Monday was just on the treadmill in the garage. Was just sick of the wind. So I'm just like, I'll just do 45 minutes on the treadmill. So 4:30 kilometer pace. And then Tuesday's session, the group session was 10 1-minute hills. And when I was warming up for the session, I'm like, in hindsight, I reckon off the back of the 40K, I should probably not do a session Tuesday, do a session Wednesday, do some sort of midweek long run on the Thursday, easy Friday, and then my long run / session Saturday. But just logistics for the week, I still just did the session. So it's 10 by 1-minute hills down at Old Parliament House. I didn't run it as hard as I did before, it must have been 6 weeks before, where I was actually super lactic. Felt pretty strong on it, but towards the back end, I just feel like my glute and hemi on my right side just not 100%. It wasn't a bad pain. And then Wednesday did an hour 45, 4:08. Hemi was okay. Hemi was fine. I didn't really notice the hemi until probably Friday and then part of Saturday's run, but that was 25.5K at 4:08. But then by sort of Wednesday, Thursday, I was actually pretty tired. I think the combo of the 40K on Sunday, session Tuesday, hour 45 Wednesday, by Thursday, I was pretty tired, and I knew I had a pretty big session on the Saturday. So I was hoping that, with 2 recovery days, Thursday and Friday, that I'd pull up pretty well. So I did, 10.5K on Thursday, 4:25s. And then Friday got out for an hour at 4:17s. And then Sunday was I guess my second session and also my long run for the week. So I met up with Rob and Zach down at Yerrabee Pond. We ran 25K out into Mulligans and back. So I think averaged about 4:08 for that sort of 25K. We then changed shoes. I wore the Alpha 3s, so this was the second time that I'd put them on. And then I did 10K. So I started off with Zach, and we got about, I reckon we're probably rolling just under 3:30s for the first couple of K. And I said, how are you feeling? He's like, this is probably just a little bit too hot for me. It sort of feels a bit more like half marathon pace. So he slowed down a little bit, and then I sort of turned it into a bit more of a progression. So I ended up running exactly 34 minutes for the 10K. Up until probably 7K, 8K, I was fairly comfortable. And then I sort of started playing games with myself, sort of trying to kick down a little bit to get it closer to sort of 34 minutes for 10K. And so sort of doing the maths in the last part of what I needed to run the last K in. But I sort of, with that 10K, it was sort of 3:30, 3:29, 26, 24, 26, 24, 22, 20, 3:15. So the last couple of K was definitely not marathon rhythm, but everything before that was super comfortable. And then I stopped after 10K, waited for the other 2 guys, and then we cooled down for 2K. And the most pleasing thing for this run for me was how fresh my legs still felt. I ran 37K, 3:56 average. Obviously there's about 9 minutes in there of not running, changing shoes and waiting for the other guys and that sort of thing. But I could have run another 10 kilometers, not not fast, but my legs just didn't feel beat up. So that was a positive. And I'm not sure if it's a combination. It's probably a combination of the gym work, Having done a few longer runs recently, like that 40K as well, I think anytime you run like a lot further than you have before, then the runs shorter than that don't feel as taxing. So, I was really happy with how that felt. And then Sunday was actually fun just because like I don't have many Sundays where you don't have to go and do a long run. So I reckon I could definitely get used to a Saturday long run and a Sunday just, family day with a short run. So I did an hour at 4:20s. So it was a week of 127K. So
you said not marathon effort, or not marathon rhythm, but I noticed you didn't say it wasn't marathon pace.
Yeah, look, I don't know really where. The one thing I've definitely noticed, I personally think my strength at the moment is as good as it's ever been. The one thing that I'm probably lacking a little bit is I feel like my threshold's not probably quite as good as it's been in the past, which I remember listening to that Dan Nash interview, and he said something about he would realise in a marathon block whether, his threshold was like not fast enough, which was obviously going to impact what he could run for the marathon. So you have a period there where you try and improve your threshold a little bit. And like that part of my running's really fallen off. It's like 325s, I feel like I can run that and feel very, very comfortable. But then I start going sub 320 and it's a stretch, which, that's not much of a difference. Whereas back when I was running well, like if I wanted to run a 3-minute K at the end, like that wasn't an issue. Whereas now, like I'm lucky to run a 3-minute K fresh. So that part of my running is definitely fallen off.
But you're 44 now, right?
Yeah, I'm 44.
That's gonna be the bit that goes first.
Yeah, but I think that's also going to impact my marathon because it's like 325s, fairly comfortable. Like 320 and faster, not comfortable. And 320s is 220 marathon pace, and 325s is closer to that 225. So I reckon I'm somewhere in there. But obviously I want to make that first 30K feel as comfortable as possible, just because I don't have that sort of, if I sort of go a little bit too quick too early, I just don't have that as much of a buffer as I used to have.
Yeah, the
ceiling's not as high. Does that make sense? Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, because the like you're at 325, and in the past you would be able to run a 315, 310 to finish off. Yeah. 310, 312, that kind of thing, comfortably. Yeah. But now you run a 315 and all of a sudden you're like, flooded with lactic.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think it's made me realise that when I finish this marathon, the thing I need to focus on for the next period is to try and not do speed work, but just get that threshold a bit better where, maybe 310s feels a bit manageable compared to what it does now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you look at your last 5-6 weeks, folks, it's many Sundays with 2 to 240, is many midweek between 140 to 2 hours. You have these 4x 5Ks. I mean, all in all, you have a phenomenal strength here. So if you take yourself out for a Valencia half marathon, do you think you run 67 flat now?
No, because I think that pace, I think after 10 kilometres at that pace, I'd be redlining. Because I just don't have that buffer.
I know this try to add up this half marathon times 2 plus 5, 6, 7 minutes. All people are asking what I need to run in the half to run that in a marathon. But for normal people, you cannot run a half marathon times 2 and then just add up 5 minutes. That is way too little. But if you are really, really well prepared for a marathon, can maybe be down to 5 minutes. But for normal people, it's way more 7-8 minutes than 5.
Yeah. I personally think I would struggle to go much under 69 minutes for a half. Just knowing how that sort of 315 to 320 feels. Anyway, I guess we'll find out. But really happy with how my strength is at the moment.
How many
all right.
weeks out are we from Melbourne now? Is it 5 weeks to go?
Yeah, it was 5 weeks yesterday.
Yeah.
I've only got like basically two more big like sessions, I suppose, to go. Yeah. All right, let's thank some patrons. Who you got, Moose?
I have Lawrence Yap from Melbourne. Strava's locked down, but according to the RaceView website, he has run the following times: 21:02 Warrnambool Parkrun, 44:14 at the 2022 Sri Chinmoy Yarra Boulevard 10K, 91:43 at the 2024 Sri Chinmoy Albert Park Half Marathon, and 3:30 at this year's Gold Coast Marathon. Think he might be a podiatrist. Lawrence Yap. You got him on LinkedIn?
I think I reckon that's how I may have found out that he was a podiatrist. Yeah. LinkedIn's always a good one for that. Who you got, Chriso?
I got Tom Drayton. Pretty sure he's from UK and runs for Hercules Wimbledon. His Strava is locked down, but according to his Power of 10 profile, he has run 15:33 for a 5K, Wimbledon 5,000 meter festival night, and 33:18 at the 2022 Battersea Park Sri Chinmoy 10K.
Thank you. And I've got Leanne Burke. I couldn't find her on Strava, but I found the following results. So hopefully they're hers. 22:21 at the 2015 Mini Mossman 5K, 51:24 at the 2023 BBB run, 150 at the 2015 Canberra Half, and 4:18 at the 2021 Barossa Marathon. So thank you to those patrons and all the patrons over there. Brady will be back with the Road to Chicago crew probably tomorrow or Wednesday. And I believe, Chriso, have you signed up for a Road to Valencia?
No, I haven't signed up to anything. I don't know who is hosting, but if it's me and Jordan and one of you guys, I hope it will be Julian, because if not, it's going to be a show that really depends a lot about me, and I don't want that to happening. I have been in Valencia and I have never succeeded there, so it can be a shit show.
I will definitely get a Road to Valencia with you and Jordan. I think that would be great, even if it's like us sort of rotating hosts. I think that would be really good. Do you agree, Moose?
Yeah, two blokes that really love talking about themselves.
But Jordan is running there himself, so cannot only be the coach talking. Need to be Jordan as an athlete as well.
Yeah, no, we'll do both of that. That's great. Yeah, so we'll maybe try and find one other athlete running Valencia. But yeah, that'll cross over with the Road to Chicago, because it's normally a 10-week series. So what do you got? 12 weeks to Valencia?
Yeah. 12 weeks from yesterday.
So in probably 3 weeks' time, that Road to Valencia will kick off. All right, running news, Moose. Seeing as though you were at the Zurich Diamond League, you are the Diamond League specialist this week. So take us through these results.
Yeah, I was there, and I remember watching all of these. I didn't fall asleep at this event like I did at Paris with the.
I was going to bring that up.
First Barcelona.
Even the comparison moves, it's like you're watching the athletics and you're in a standing up section, and then when you're over in Paris, you're in like a private box watching two of the big powerhouses of European football and you fall asleep.
Well, this one interests me a bit more, this athletics. Mainly the 1500, that was always going to be the highlight. And it was a great race. It was paced. So they went through, the pacer went through, I think, perfect. I think it was I think Jakob went through just behind them in 151.4. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just what I thought I saw on the screen. So it was right on. They were considering world record, but the weather was a bit shit. Like it was sort of wet. The track was wet because of the torrential downpour that we got earlier in the evening. And there was a little bit still of like spitting around, I think. So I don't think it was world record conditions. Jakob just did his usual thing. He just went to the right on the pacer, and we saw Nagoose sit in behind. And this is probably something a little bit different from the Goose, is that normally he's a little further back, but he was right on him. And you could tell those two were kind of going to be the two to play it out later, I think. Josh Kerr, he fell back quite early. I mean, he came fifth in 3:31.46, but there was a gap made probably at about 500 meters out, and that's when Kerr dropped back. And Hocker also dropped back, and it was two people coming through, just Ngus and Jakob, Jakob just plays the same tactic pretty much every single race, and I think these guys are just he can't drop the 329 guy now, Ngus, and Ngus just had this power over the top of him. Just probably passed him with about 50 meters to go, and I thought he was going to win actually from about 300 out, purely because he'd just done way less work than Jakob. And Jakob is a sitting duck out the front. He also has a massive target on his back due to being the best in the world. And so as soon as these guys get a little sniff, whether it's Hocker in the Olympics, Kerr in the world champs, Ngus in this race, they just pounce on him. It must be very hard for him being the real target of the race, like the sitting duck every single time, running how he does as well. Just nowhere to hide.
Played the sick card again too.
Yeah, I was going to ask Christian about that. Is that something that all people in Norway do?
All people with world record at 7:17. All those people are doing it. But I don't know. You know, sometimes when you are at, I will not say peak shape, but when you are very close to the maximum you can do, it's a fine line. And he was traveling home from Poland, from Silesia, back to Sandnes, had some session there, and then just woke up sick one day. And his wife and his brothers told him not to go to Zurich, but he just loved to race too much, so he just went there. But how sick he is now, I don't know, to be honest. And this final in Brussels, probably he will be okay, and then we have to see. I don't know if he will go for some road races this year or if the season is over.
I actually believe that he probably was sick, but I don't know. Like, I think you're better off just, if you're on the start line, you get beaten, you just say, yeah, I just wasn't good enough on the day. Like, I think just bringing up, and because it's just happening too many times now, that any time he loses, well, most of the time that he loses, it's like, I was sick. And it's like, just say he just got beaten. Like, I just don't think it's great for his, I don't know, like reputation or, What do you think? What do you think, Moose?
Yeah, it does seem to happen quite a bit. And he never says he's sick when he wins.
No.
So it only ever comes out when he's not winning. And perhaps he was sick. But do you reckon there's probably 5 other people in that race who maybe was sick during the week as well? Or like throughout this event? And they don't need to mention it?
Yeah.
Because as far as
you still
I'm concerned...
And you still run 329.5, so you can't be like, super fever, like super sick. You got to be still pretty healthy to run that. You
also you're on the start line. Like it's go time. You're not on the start line, but you're a bit sick. It's like as soon as you're on the start line, you got the bib on. We're racing now, and
no excuses.
No, that's I actually said that when I was talking about Helen O'Beary with Dathan, and he said, "Oh, I told her she should tell the media about what her past was like, her last few weeks, because she was really happy with the race, but she was the favourite going in, didn't win, but no one really knew what her lead up was like."
Yeah. And I like that. I like that it just comes out from other people and just gets, gradually leaked, not Helen coming out saying, I had a stressy. I would have won that if I had run the last 5 weeks.
Absolutely. That's right.
Let other people say it.
Yep. Yeah. But he's probably a bit sick. We
had Ollie Hall.
Ollie was in there. Yeah, look, he was 13th. in 3:37, and he looked to be fighting the whole way. He doesn't seem to have it right now. It seems like he should probably have a spell. Seems like he should probably pack the season in like a lot of other people have. He's maybe trying to get some confidence back, finish the season with some momentum, but I'm not sure it will happen. In these types of races with the pace that fast, there's just no hope. There's just no hope that you're going to come out and be able to hold on to that when you're not in that shape. And if he wants the momentum, perhaps he should drop down to a 3:33 to 3:35 race and try to get some W's up, like come back through the reserves almost. Yeah. That's the AFL metaphor, through the B grade, just because that is like 3:37, and I think he was second last perhaps, but it just didn't look like he was there for the win. Like he was never really competing.
Yeah. What do we got next? Women's 5K.
Yeah, that was a great race. This was the most impressive run of the night for me. Is Chebet. She was out. This was the only time that I really saw the pacing lights being a thing. I'm not sure whether they were used in all of them or not, but it's the only time I really saw it, because the green lights were on world record pace, and she was on it. Like, she got paced. Georgia Griffith, I think she went to the 2K mark, I think it was. Oh, no, she went to maybe it was 2.2K. And I think she was supposed to go 3K in 8:25. That's what the start list had her down at.
It's like a PB for her, isn't it? Just about.
Pretty much an Australian record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that it was reasonable to ask that. However, she did get to 2.2 and she did a good job. She was right on the lights. It was pretty much perfect there. Chebet stayed with the lights for maybe 2 laps until it got to about 3K, and then she started to drop off a bit. But she soloed 14:09 after that. She is phenomenal. She's beat like the girls that ran second and third, Tayi 14:28 and Gebra Salama 14:39. They are top-notch athletes, like medal potential at the Olympic type athletes. And she's just doing her own thing out in front. She looks amazing when she runs too. Like she's one of the lightest people I've seen on her feet. There were a couple of Americans in the race. Grovdale was in there. Chriso, no good for Norway here. DNF.
Yeah, she is running the Copenhagen half marathon this weekend, so it was a little bit of a gambling. I think she had some small problem with running in spikes, so going down it was a little bit 50-50, and then she went, but she dropped out after like 5 minutes. Said on the interview afterward with the channel that it was not a big like injury or a problem with when she was running on the roads, but she was feeling it a little bit after Olympic Games, wanted to have a shot down here in Zurich, but pulled the pin after 5 minutes.
Yeah, and the American Schweizer, Catherine Schweizer, she ran very well. She basically won the second pack. She came through and took over some athletes that were in front of her, outkicked everybody. Women's 800, Mary Mora ran 1:57.08 to come out of the group and win that race. Georgia Bell was second, 1:57.94. Addison Wiley, 1:58.16. And Stewie, as we talked about before, it was a DNS. So it was a non-Diamond League 3K. Jacob Kropp won 7:34. I reckon he picked it up too in this race. We saw who else was in it. There are a couple floating around that you might recognise. Woody Kincaid, he was probably the most recognisable because he's American. We get a fair bit of that media coming over. But yeah, the difference, even 7:34 to 7:44, it just looked very different. That was the thing I couldn't get my head around. That was the Diamond League.
Good work, Moose. You did well for a guy that doesn't really get up and about with Diamond League.
I know. Lucky I saw it in person. Because I'm not
That's why I
watching
gave
that.
it to you, because I haven't watched any of the races now that it's on Stan.
Yeah. Well, you just sign up, you tight ass.
Yeah, but it's like there's only one more meet left. Like if
Oh.
it was the start of the season, fair enough. So there's only the Diamond League final to go, which is this weekend, which we'll talk about later on. Paralympic news. So men's 1500, we had Reece Langdon win a bronze medal, running a time of 4:13.13. So fairly tactical race, given Reece has recently run, I think, 3:48. Race was won in 4:12.91. Another Aussie, Angus Hinksman, was fourth in 4:14.14. And Jared Clifford, he narrowly missed out on a medal. He ran 3:44.95 for fourth, missed bronze by 1/100th of a second. Race was won by Alexander Costin in 3:44.43. I think Costin finished second in the 5K. So that's the Paralympic wrap-up. Burnley Half was on the weekend. Now, this was an impressive run. Seth O'Donnell ran 62.05, pretty much solo on a course that's fairly crowded. Brady wrote a few notes here saying that it was pretty hectic. There were 900 people on the 5K out and back lap at the same time. So congested that you missed the people who were like 20 to 30 seconds in front of you on the out and back stretches, as just stuck in so many people, and you were focused on not taking anyone out, so couldn't really look across. And Brady said that makes Seth's run like bloody impressive. And I think I'm not sure if the course is certified, but if it is, I think that's the second fastest half marathon by an Aussie on Australian soil. So he beat Harry Norman, who ran 64.53. Ben Chamberlain was third, 64.55. In terms of the teams events, Western A's got the win, 109 points. Ballarat second, 157. And Melbourne Uni made the podium in third, 175. But the big news here in the teams event, Bendigo, reigning premiers, finished last. Moose, it seems like, a couple of rounds ago they realised they couldn't win, and they've just packed it up, given up.
Mate, front running at its finest. Front running, it's very easy when you're out in front. When you got to dig in and do the hard stuff.
When the chips are down.
Brady's still out there fighting. Can't put it on him. He was down there just collecting points for the team, but I think he's pretty disappointed with some of his teammates.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Brady's not here to chat about it. But when he returns, we'll ask him about the Bendigo second half of the season. What happened?
Well, we're after we were after a statement from him, weren't we?
From the team as to why they don't have a full strength team.
He didn't give us one.
But this Seth Donnelly guy, is he a track guy stepping up, or this is a new sub 210 guy?
No.
He's never. Seth's a guy that. So he won. So his probably breakthrough race was a couple of years ago. He won national crossover in Adelaide on a wet track, and then had sort of some glimpses of running some pretty decent times, like on the track, not like anywhere near sort of our top guys. And then sort of went missing for a little bit, and then 2 weeks ago came out and won national cross in Tassie on another really tough wet course. But this is definitely like his best result. Wouldn't it, Moose? This compared to anything else he's done.
This time is fairly insane, really, when you consider. Was it the second fastest on Australian soil?
Yeah, behind Pat Carroll.
I don't think the course is certified. I'm not sure whether that makes a difference to those sorts of result keeping. I know they did have a mess up there a few years ago, but so I don't know where that stands, like in terms of the course is obviously measured, but not certified. Does that go to record keeping like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, like if it will sort of be on the national rankings, because I'm guessing if it's not certified, then it can't be.
Yeah.
But then you factor in, okay, like even if it's not certified, the guys run 62.05. Like you look at Brady's, I know you can't just go off Strava, but like everybody's measured like well over half marathon distance. So Brady got 20, what do you get? 21 point, I was trying to find it. But also when you factor in how crowded the course was, like it's not a Marigami, you know, like where you got wide open roads. So yeah, you
No, I
factor
know.
that
That's I'm not really worried that it's not right. I'm worried that the recognition won't be there. But the course has U-turns all over the shop. Like
exactly.
It's not fast at all. Plus he's by himself. He's basically soloed that 62.05. Really, really impressive run. And you can win National Cross, but there's a lot of them that haven't been able to do that. Run 62.05 at Burnley.
Yeah, because you look at Brady measured 21.22, Michael Kernahan 21.32. So like from a distance point of view, like it looks pretty legit, but I'm just not sure whether it'll have that paper to say that it's certified. But regardless, you'd have to think, you know, you get him on one of these flat, fast courses overseas with people of similar ability to him, and that's got to be worth 30 seconds a minute. It's putting him down pretty quick.
Got to get him somewhere, don't you?
Yeah. So watch this space. He's been knocking on the door though, Seth. Like, you know, to win National Cross the year that he did, it's like, well, you know, you don't do that unless you got some talent. But then, as I said, he sort of went missing for a little period there. But now
he got injured. Yeah.
Yeah, but now he's back, and yeah, look out. In the women's, Melissa Duncan 73.05 for the win. Erica Flores second, 77.15. Kate Mason was third in 77.24. Glenn Hartley won the teams, 26 points. Sandringham was second, 63, and Box Hill third, 93 points. Moose, you're taking us to Bridge to Brisbane.
Yes, that's the iconic 10K up there. Always quite good winners. Like best of the best in Queensland normally go to this race. Liam Buden, he won. He probably is the best of the Queenslanders right now. He ran 28.56 to beat Jack Bruce, not 29.14, and Jude Thomas was 29.21. So that's a very strong top end there.
Yeah, you had Tim. I think Tim Vincent was fourth or fifth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so.
Wow. Yeah, that Queenslanders are coming through, aren't they?
They are.
Did Ryan Gregson win?
No, I didn't see his name on the result.
No, okay. So because Jen Gregson was the winner, so what's that? 6 weeks? A month?
Oh, probably less.
5 weeks?
Probably less than 6 weeks, I reckon. Yeah.
She's come back. She ran 32.45 to take the win over Tennille Piltz, 33.25, and Rochelle Hill, 34.38.
Very good. And Chriso, we've got you in for some news here for Sarah Billings and the Fifth Avenue Mile.
Yes, Sarah Billings ran 1:58.94 in Germany to become the fifth fastest Aussie of all time. Also a World Championship qualifier. And it's good. I mean, over 12 months from now will be the Tokyo Championship. So will be late season, the next one. To have the championship in September. Yeah, it was similar when you were in Doha, Julian. That was the last time that World Championship was in September.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it will be a long season. You can imagine starting out in China with Diamond Leagues in April. And then you have all this summer with all this Diamond League and then World Championship towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and she's been knocking on the door for a while as well, Moose, and has had a pretty long season. So to do that at the end of the season is is
mate,
great run.
Let me bring up these stats. There was an Instagram account, @stats, put this up. I'll just be 1 sec. I'm going to pull it up. So here is her season. Since she started with a 5K at Maurie Plant Meet in Feb, Billings has raced 8 800s, 9 1500s, 1 3K, 1 5K, as well as 5 paced races, as well as 5.
But she would have paced 5 races.
That's right. Yeah. Average break between races of 9 days,
longest was over the Olympics, 33 days. Shortest, pacing a 5K the same night she raced at 15. She's run PBs in 1500, 3K and 5K though. And just last night, broke 2 minutes and grabs world champs qualifier.
Yeah.
So she's grounded out this season and she's got the rewards for it.
Yeah, which makes our domestic season next year pretty exciting when you look at, the top, 4 or 5 girls now. And you can only send 3 to world champs. It's going to be a good domestic season and a good nationals next year. And Christo, Fifth Avenue Mile.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy, this Fifth Avenue Mile. You go after Zurich Diamond League, but you're going before this final at Brussels. So I guess a lot of the people here on the start line was ending the season with this mile. Josh Kerr, he will not come back to the last event in Brussels, the Diamond League final. So, but all in all, it was an impressive race. I think this Fifth Ave is a point-to-point race, so you cannot have the world record there. And some years you have tailwind, some years you have headwind. So, times is probably a little bit irrelevant, but he broke the course record with a ton. The course record was 3:47.5, set by Sydney Murray back in 1981. So, 40...
Do not say old shoes. Don't say old shoes.
No, but 43 years is a long time and have been a lot of good athletes here. But I haven't seen the race, but I guess, of course, Josh Kerr is good. But you saw the Zurich Diamond League. He was not really sharp there. So it had to be really good conditions, I guess, in New York.
I also think, I'd say the conditions were good because he won by over 4 seconds. But also, it's an interesting time that they put this on because from my memory, the Fifth Avenue Mile was always after the Diamond League final. And so there's probably a few people that are going to run the Diamond League final that would run Fifth Avenue Mile if it was a week after the Diamond League final. So, because I looked at the results and it probably wasn't as deep a field. Like there weren't like a lot of standout names because in the past you got like Jake Whiteman would rock up and probably even a couple of the Aussies. Like I'm sure Stewie or Ollie's done it before. So it wasn't probably the deepest field, but he still ran 3:44.
Yeah, it was an impressive race. He won by over 5 seconds. So it was a different class than the rest. But it's like you are saying, Cole Hocker, Jakob, these other top guys, they are not here. So I think this was the end of the season for Josh Kerr. He ran 7:24 or something indoor in Mars. He got the silver in the Olympics. So, even though he's not racing that much as the rest of the people, this has been a really long season for Josh Kerr as well.
Yeah. And in the women's?
The women's side, Julian mentioned it earlier. Carissa Schweitzer, she's in really, really good shape now. It's a little bit 50-50 after the Olympics for me. Some people, they are just dead end the season, and some people is coming out, having probably a little bit time off, and then they are fresh now for the end of the season. But Carissa Schweitzer, she won 4:14.8, equaling Laura Muir's course record from 2022. So when you have course record both for men and women, I guess the weather was probably on the favorite side.
I'd say so. Good recap there, Christo. Listener question this week comes in from Alex. How do you guys carb load whilst on an international marathon and staying in a hotel? This is a good one. It's good having Christo on because, you travel the world, stay at hotels. How do you carb load while you're away?
Usually we are traveling on Friday, so then you just try to eat something when you're traveling. Some bagels or sandwiches or pasta or pizza, something easy, but at the same time, you don't want to be very hungry while traveling, and you don't want to be sick. So if you are a top guy, maybe you bring your own food. And then you arrive sometimes Friday, you check in the hotel. Usually you eat a good late night dinner the Friday night, and then Saturdays hotel breakfast, try to eat some light bread, stuff like that. You have a lunch, maybe you go with pasta for the lunch, and then you have a dinner, and also try to fuel up with some, I don't know if people have to drink Morton all the time, but some sports drink or any, soda, something with sugar. Just, but try to play it a little bit safe. You don't want to be get up with food sickness the day before the race. But keep it simple. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Moose, what advice have you got?
Well, every country you'll be able to find rice somewhere. And rice is probably the simplest and safest carb you can eat before a race. You'll always be able to get soft drink as well. Every country has lollies. So they're things that you can eat in your room. The rice situation might be more difficult when you're in hotels. Sometimes I'll look for hotels that have like kitchenette facilities where you might have a microwave or at least a kettle or a toaster, even if you're going to have bagels or bread, toast. That's kind of ideal if you can find that. So it's worth booking hotels where that might be an option. And then if you're not eating, if you can't heat your rice up, then you can always do like the cold rices, like sushis. Most hotels have a little refrigerator, so you can eat as long as you're not going too weird with your sushi. Like that's always pretty clean and easy. Maybe to stay away from the some of the odd sushi you might find, but like predominantly rice in those dishes.
But even if you're staying at a hotel, like, there's nothing to stop you from going out and finding like a Chinese restaurant or Thai and just ordering takeaway and like ordering, a couple of things, large rice.
Yeah.
And even taking a lot of your snacks over with you, like, so if you're having those like LCM bars as like a high sugar snack in the carb load, like you can take some of that stuff over with you. Like the only thing I reckon makes it challenging is if you're one of those, like if you're running a home marathon, like in your actual like hometown, and you want to be like really precise with, that 8 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo or whatever, like that's easy to do because you can sort of measure everything. Whereas obviously if you're traveling overseas, you can't measure things as easily, but it's still very easy to find whatever carbs you need while you're away. Because as you said, Moose, it's like rice is easy to find. Everyone has pizza. Pizza's easy to get. Doesn't matter what country you're in. So there's plenty of options out there.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be rice. Like you can do a good liquid carb load as well. Yeah. Some of the best carbs you can get are from simple sugars, like a bottle of lemonade or a Powerade.
And things like loaves of bread and jam. Like it's easy to find a loaf of bread somewhere.
Yeah. Don't overthink it's probably the thing, like Christian said. Just don't overthink it. Keep it simple.
Yeah. Moose on the Loose, purchase of the week. What do we got? Rules of Strava. We haven't had a rule of Strava for a while. Rule of Strava,
yeah, okay.
Oh no, you had one of those the other day, didn't you? That was pretty much like you can't claim your PVs from Strava.
Oh yeah, that was one. That was one. I'll go a Moose on the Loose, and it was a fella that was on our trip. We did have a great group of people on our trip, but I did a bit of running with Nathan Pope from Adelaide. Now Nathan has run 2 marathons. His first one was like 2:45, and his next one was 2:32. He's a younger fella. I'm going to say 25, 26 maybe. Could be off, but that's my guess. And so he ran 2:32 at Gold Coast. And if you've run those 2 marathons, you'd think, right, I'm pretty good at this caper. Probably a chance to improve any more on this, like a little bit more. And so I said, "Oh, how you going? What's up next, Nate?" He goes, "Oh, nah, not really going to train for anything anymore. I just don't think I've got enough time for this marathon training. It's just too much investment." and he doesn't have kids, so automatically two blokes. He said this to two blokes with kids, me and Pat, and we look at each other. We're like, "You're fucking dreaming. You've got all the time in the world." Works at a running store. Like, we know how easy that is. We've both done that. We're a bit different as an owner, but he's working in a running store. Got a dog though. Oh, I got home the other night and after training, and my girlfriend, she walked the dog for me, so I felt really bad about that, and just not getting enough time to really to get this marathon stuff done. And I was like, oh, come on, Pat, show us some respect here, mate. Like, you are a gun marathoner already, 2:32 in your second one. You didn't even run that much, maybe like 100K a week or something. You got all the talent in the world. You got this on a plate. And like, it just, for me, I'm like, oh, back in the day, I would do anything just to eke out a couple of minutes. And this bloke's run 2:32, just doesn't give a shit about it. I'm like, oh, we're coming from different worlds. And this is, I guess, just different humans out there. Most of the people that I train with, they don't really think the way Nathan does. They're very invested. I mean, on the other end of the scale, you've got a bloke like Christian Ulrichsen, who's turned his entire life into a training camp. And
it's only 12 weeks left. I'm done when I run 2:19.
No, you're not. We know that. That's for sure. So yeah, now this isn't a crack at Nathan. It's just, for me, I'm like, oh, different people out there. You got some talent, boy. Go use it. But
it always comes back to like, people run for different reasons, and what motivates one person doesn't motivate somebody else. Like, if I was in his shoes, like, knowing how, I guess, new to running he is and how much room for improvement, like, I would feel that it'd be nice to have a PB that's under 2:30, especially when you're so close to breaking that.
Yeah, well, imagine you're sitting, he's your age now, and he's looking back, and he's starting to run with his mates again, and he's running like a 2:50 marathon, or he's running 20-minute 5Ks, whatever he is. When he starts back again, he's like, oh, geez, how easy was that 2:32? I could have been a real gun at this.
Yeah, you don't want to have regrets at the end. And it reminds me, Moose, of back when I was maybe early mid-20s, when I've sort of given up the sport a few times, had enough of it. And I remember going to one of my coaches at the time saying, I reckon I might be done. He's like, yeah, that's fine, but just remember, like, when you do actually like stop this sport, you're a long time retired. And it sort of always stuck with me that, like, when you do actually stop and let yourself go, like, you're probably never coming back again. And that's for a long time, like, it's for a long period of your life, especially, at this point I was 24, 25, you're a long time retired, he said. So yeah, it always resonated with me.
Yes. And Chriso is not going to ever give up on it.
No. Speaking of Chriso, so we're done with the show. What's coming up? So when's your next race?
Oh la la. We are going to Berlin, but that is long run and will not be too long and not too fast. Jordan have been clear on that. 6 weeks from now, I have the national 10K here at the roads. And 1 week after is Valencia half marathon. So, but all in all, I mean, I'm not training for a 10K. All in all, the next 12 weeks is being the best prepared I can before Valencia marathon. But I have one 10K is the 19th of October, and then 8 days later is Valencia half.
Okay. Well, good luck with the prep. As I said, we'll no doubt the patrons will hear you over on Patreon for the Road to Valencia series, but we might try and get you on maybe 1 week before, like while Brady's away on the Road to Chicago series, we might get you on again in the next few weeks, just to see how everything's tracking.
Thanks for having me, and I once again I am healthy, and the dream is still alive, but we still have a little bit of a way to go. When you were talking about your threshold earlier, it seems also for me that the distance, I think I can be able to train up, but at the moment seems like I'm a little bit short at the threshold pace myself as well.
Yeah. Now, it's been inspiring, Chriso. You've given me some ideas after the marathon to maybe like just back off the mileage, see if I can get a little bit faster again, and then maybe go for another marathon. But yeah, as I said, we'll get you on in a few weeks' time. Moose, what do you got coming up? Bit of sleep?
Oh, can't wait to sleep. Can't wait to sleep tonight. We got a long run this weekend on the Sunday in Geelong. We always do this before Melbourne, so the store has a long run. We go out and supply the gels. Morton, big thanks to Morton. They're going to shout some gels for everybody, so that'll be good.
What's your session?
I don't know yet. Don't know. I'll see what Matt. I might run. I'll have to have a look. Have to have a look.
Right.
I'm very non-committal right now.
Look forward to hearing that next week. We've got Sydney Marathon this weekend, so that'll be good to watch. I think it's like a 6 a.m. start, something like that. So I reckon a lot of runners will probably watch that before they even start their long run. City Bay, I believe, is on this weekend, and then also the Diamond League final, 13th and 14th of September. And just another announcement, keep your eyes out on the socials in the coming week or two for a big Precision Fuel and Hydration giveaway. So yeah, that'll be on our socials. Thanks to both you boys for giving up some of your, Monday night here, Monday morning over there, Chriso. We'll do it all again next week.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Chriso. Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
See you, team. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Ready to take your race performance to the next level? We've already spoken about Precision Fuel and Hydration's online planner. Well, if you prefer talking to a human, you can also book a free consultation call to get a personalised strategy. We all love their products, and if you use the link in the show notes and the code INSIDERUN15, you can benefit from 15% off your first order and start to fall in love with their products too.
Under